Hey guys, it's Summer Rayne from Homestead, Brooklyn, and I'm here in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida at TPIE, which is the largest conference for Florida growers. Now, instead of giving you a whole overview of the conference, I'm going to be selecting some of the coolest things that I've seen here, not only from growers, but also products on the market. So let's get inside.
My name is Bill Rotolante. I'm the owner of Silver Khrome Gardens in Homestead, Florida.
How long has Silver Khrome Gardens been around?
My father opened the business in 1983, but I've been working there since '98.
Love for plants then runs in the family.
Yes, it does.
What was your first memory of plants?
Probably coming to TPIE.
Oh, really?
Back when it was in the Dinner Key Auditorium, which is down in Coconut Grove. I remember helping my father drag plants out over there and put up his big booth, and it was very fun when you're a little kid, running around grabbing yardsticks and free trinkets from all the booths, and it was a good time back then.
He involved you in the whole process then all along?
Yeah, he tried to.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's hot down here, and when you go to the nursery and you're a little kid, it's so hot inside the nursery, and you don't want to be there because it's so hot, and you want to be playing with your friends in the summer, and you don't want to be digging through plants and digging trenches and potting plants and stuff like that. But it was interesting. It was always a jungle there, and I love exploring in the jungle of the nursery.
What were some of the lessons that you really took away from your father in this whole process?
Love what you do and do it well and do it with a good attitude, and stuff like that is probably the best thing you can learn. Hard work. Always work hard. Be the hardest worker out there and you'll succeed.
You told me off camera that your dad started in orchids and then he went to Aroids, which are like Alocasia, Philodendron, Anthuriums. Yeah. So what made that switch for him?
Well, his first love were orchids when he got out of University of Florida, and he worked in an orchid nursery. And then after a while, he decided, let me start something new and do something different. So then he started to do Aroids because it was something new that not a lot of people were doing. A lot of people were doing orchids, a lot of people were doing spathiphyllum, stuff like that, but he wanted to do something new and different. So he got into the Alocasias and the Anthuriums and the Philodendrons of the world.
Is that something that you share a love for too? Because I know you specialize in a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I'm on the board of the Aroid Society now, so I do love my Aroids. I've been published in the International Aroid Society journals. I have lots of world famous hybrids that I've done. I have some huge Anthuriums in the nursery that a lot of bus people stop and take pictures in front of, because you won't find anything like it anywhere else.
What are some of, like, if you had to pick like your top 3 prized possessions, which ones would they be?
That's a hard question because you love all your children. And you love them the same. But
if you were in a burning house and you had to save 3?
I'd probably save my favorite is my Big Bill.
Big Bill.
Which is my biggest one. It has 10-foot leaves. It's a hybrid of Pendulifolium and Anthurium plowmanite. And it has huge, long, pendant leaves with nice dark green foliage and raspberry colored berries on it. And it's very, very beautiful.
So if I sat on your shoulders, that would be basically how tall the leaves would be?
Probably taller.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Probably you standing on my shoulders.
There you go. I'm not that short. That's fantastic. Well,
we have it hanging in the greenhouse, and I always tell everybody one day it's going to pull down the greenhouse.
Oh my, well that would be an achievement unto itself. Well, I can't wait to actually see some of those things firsthand, and I feel like I'm getting a slightly sanitized version, even though it's like very beautiful that you've kind of like brought here today. How has the industry changed over the course of those years, whether it's evolved or how it's grown or contracted? And also tell me a little bit about the interest in aroids. The way it's changed since I've been here, it's become more global.
A lot of the varieties you could never get coming out of Asia, Africa before. And now, because of the ability to ship things everywhere in the world, you're able to bring stuff in that's never been here before, that no one's ever seen in North America, and bring it to market now. You can get cuttings we get from Africa. We get cuttings of Rhipsalis and ship them over here, which we were never able to do before. That is really the way the industry's changed. It's become so much more global than just national or even regional.
So plants are then really more achievable. Like, you could get them, they're more accessible, even though that the restrictions of kind of bringing plants in has...
There's always ways around it.
There's always ways around it. So you know. Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I'd love to get a sense of some of these different varieties that you have.
These are our Calatheas we're growing right now. We're growing some species and hybrids. Some with flowers and some with insignificant flowers, just green, you really pay attention to, but all with beautiful foliage. The best thing about Calatheas is the spots, the colors, the shiny leaves. That's what you really want to see.
And you just shared with me that the Calathea ornata, which has the beautiful pinstripe pink stripes, is a juvenile form, which I had no idea. So you said it actually loses its stripes.
Yeah, when it gets about 6 feet tall, it's just a plain green leaf.
Well,
there's no stripes on.
6 feet tall.
Well, it can do it in my nursery, but you know, we have good weather for that down there.
Indoors, it's a struggle. You know, the struggle is real. I think the number one thing that I get from people is that, you know, help me with my Marantaceae family of plants, because it often gets brown edges, and
that's chlorine, bromine, salts in the water.
Yeah. I would also think that there's probably lack of humidity sometimes in people's homes.
Well, yeah, that's when they're drying around the edges.
Yes.
But when they're getting burned tips, it's usually chemicals that they can't exude are settling in the tips of the leaves because they can't, in their natural environment, there's no way for them to get rid of that.
I actually found that when the reason why I went to filtered and distilled water for some of my plants was because that I noticed when I watered them with my water coming out of my sink, which, you know, the whole thing with New York City water is supposed to be the best, and my plants were suffering, which actually turned me into only drinking filtered and distilled water. So tell me which ones you said some are species and some are hybrids, so maybe you could point some of those out.
This comes from an Indonesian breeder, and these are coming out of Europe right now. These right here are all species here that came from South America originally. This is a species, Rufabarba, with the fuzzy leaf. Worcestershire with a beautiful white tulip flower.
I have found that my chicken absolutely loves this one.
Really?
Yes, my chicken
eats it?
Eats, and the orbifolia, which I don't know if you have here.
No, I don't have that one.
Those two are my chicken's prime eating, and these have beautiful leaves, and now they're all like frayed. And this is a Zebrina, correct?
Zebrina. Actually has one of the most beautiful flowers of any of the Calatheas.
Indeed.
It's a royal purple.
Wow. I have not.
But it only flowers
yet.
once a year, and it needs to be pretty big to start flowering.
I've had this one flower, which I think is
it's the base of the plant, yellow. Yeah.
Very
it looks
beautiful.
like the plant's erupting out of the flowers.
Yeah, it's stunning. Now I see you have some Alocasias here as well.
Yes. We have all different shapes, like the stingray, Tigrinus superba. This will get about 12 feet tall eventually. We had one in the nursery was so big it was touching the roof poly.
Unbelievable.
Borneo giant, which will get about 15 feet tall. Portil in the back, which is called Malaysian Monster because of the giant size it gets. Got black stem with the great contrast with the black veins on the back side of the leaf. Lutea with the yellow. It's good contrast as well because of the yellow stems and yellow veins on it when it gets bigger. Regal Shield is a hybrid by Larry and Gardner, which is a breeder down in Miami. You have the mutants like the macrorrhiza variegata, Odora variegata. This is a hybrid Maharani.
Oh, this one looks almost like a Reginula.
It's a hybrid of black velvet and I believe Don't remember the other one. Lowrider, which is a mutation of Portadora. Morocco is a hybrid out of Oglesby's Safari Series breeding program.
You have some Rhipsalis up here, which I absolutely adore as well. Tell me a little bit about these. This looks like an epiphytic one.
That one's from Brazil. That's called the hurricane cactus. It's a Lepidopsidium cruciforme spiralis. And the foliage will spiral downwards in a corkscrew until it reaches the ground. It can get up to 20 feet long in the trees in South America. It has the little white puffs at the end, and that's actually the bud, and the flower will come out from there.
Oh,
it's a little white flower.
Beautiful. When does it typically flower?
Pretty soon, because you can see the buds popping right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. I do have one of those in my home, and I'm very much looking forward to it because it's just like the way that it hangs is just exquisite.
The foliage is really why you buy it. The flower is insignificant. It's not too big. You can get some bigger flowers and some cactus out there that are really grandiose, but that one is not too big. Next to it, you have the Pseudorhipsalis ramulosa. My employees call it the disco cactus because it gets the little fruit at the end that look like little white balls, and they think they look like disco balls. But the cool thing on that one is if you give it a lot of light, the foliage will turn a bright reddish pink.
Yes, I've actually seen that. So it's kind of stressing the anthocyanins are coming out.
Yeah, the natural sunscreen for the plant.
Exactly, like our melanin.
Yeah.
If you're buying a Rhipsalis that's relatively rubesque or kind of ruddy color, that reddish rose color, I would then intuit that was grown in a harsher light, or maybe like you said wasn't watered well. So should then when I get it to my house, try to put it in the brightest light? So because if I put it back a little bit further,
you can keep it in that bright light and keep that color on it. Or you can put it in the shade and let it get its more natural greens.
Okay, so it will acclimatize relatively easy from one point to the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the good thing about the Rhipsalis and the tropical cactuses is they're used to be growing in the jungles under the understory, so they're really not full sun cactuses like the normal stuff you see with spines. They don't really have any of that problem what you see where you put too much light, they're going to burn, but if you put too little light, they're not going to have any problems with that. So you can grow them indoors, where some cactuses you need to really growing outside, full sun. We have the Rhipsalis bassifuria, which is the native one to Florida. I think it's only native Rhipsalis to North America.
Wow.
It's found in the cypress swamps of Florida. You have Elwandiana, which is, I believe, the only one native to Africa. And scientists don't really know whether it was flown over there by the migratory birds or it actually was originally from Africa.
Is it from the African, is it from Madagascar or from the,
From the mainland.
Mainland, okay.
And then you have Mesobryanthioides, which is this little one right here. It's kind of unusual. That's a cool little yellow flower when it blooms. It's more of an oddity, a weird little thing. A few more varieties coming out later in the year that we just got in, but
so is this Rhipsalis is a relatively new kind of excursion for you?
Yes,
okay,
yes. We just started a few years ago, but it's worked out so far. People are enjoying them.
What are some of the other breakouts that you're kind of doing from your Aroids? Are there or in your Calatheas?
We have our my brand new hybrid, the water dragon, which gets a nice burgundy leaf in the brighter light areas.
Is this a type of Anthurium?
Yes, it's an Anthurium.
Do you want to take us through some of your Anthuriums?
Sure. We have two different styles. We have the European style we get from Holland, from Duman Orange and Anthura. And you see most of those are typically have the larger flowers. You have the purples also, but most of the larger flowers you see here are all from Holland originally. We get the liners in from them and bring them over here and grow them out. And then you have the smaller flowers from the American liner producers, usually medium to small flowers, usually have a good foliage, good flower count, and we find that the varieties from Europe sometimes will have a little bit more trouble with the heat. You have shorter varieties like the Red Success with the double flower.
Oh wow, yeah, I've never seen that one.
And then you have tall varieties like the Miss June. It gets about 3 feet tall, the pandolas. So you have all different types.
And what's this?
That's Queen of Hearts.
Unbelievable.
With the nice red foliage and the small pink flowers.
It's almost metallic looking or velvety looking, the black.
Yeah, well, we do have velvety too. We have Ace of Spades.
Oh yeah, that's stunning.
Which originally came out of the...
How do you like it?
Yes, the orchid jungle.
Stunning.
I'll be right back.
Is that a variegated Schefflera in the back, or what is that?
That's a brand new one to the market. It's called Tubidanthus Snowflake.
Stunning. Well, this is such a gorgeous selection that you have here. I can't wait to actually visit you at some time.
I'd love you to come by and see.
I'd love to come by and see, especially that private collection of yours and that big Bill one. I can't wait. I will stand on your shoulders and I'll see who's taller then. So yeah, thank you so much. This is a real pleasure, and
I'm glad you come by our booth and enjoy our products.
Oh God, I mean, it's so good. I mean, you have such a lovely selection. It's a breath of fresh air to see this kind of selection here. So thank you so much. Hopefully that was really informative, and if you ever get a chance, come to TPIE. It's held once a year. And if you like these episodes, don't forget to subscribe and follow along on my blog at homesteadbrooklyn.com and on Instagram at homesteadbrooklyn. Bye! If you haven't yet, don't forget to check out the Houseplant Masterclass campaign on Indiegogo In Demand. It's going to be up for the next 60 days, and you could actually donate to the project in order to be able to get early access and other rewards. So check it out here.